All right, folks. Thank you for coming in and hanging out tonight. Do a little Friday Night Live, farm catch up, uh, business community news, and all that good stuff. So, we're at well over 90 degrees right now. Kind of lost track. It's too hot, I can tell you that. We haven't had rain in a couple of weeks, maybe even going on 3 weeks now. Uh, Fixing my gutters. It's my fault. Sorry, guys. I fixed the gutters a few weeks ago so they wouldn't leak anymore, and now it hasn't rained. I apologize. Maybe somebody needs to go out there and wash their car so we can get a reset on the rain. We've had a number of kind of thunderstorms crop up very close to us and then either dissipate or go around or just go right over top of us and never drop a single bit of rain. So it's been a little frustrating, and we're starting to really need the rain out here. Uh, we're just a little bit crispy. Trees, plants, and all that stuff are doing fine with the amount of mulch I use, but I just like to cool things off, frankly. So let me catch you up on a couple of things we got going on coming up as early as tomorrow at the Haven Earth Trade School down in Old Fort, Tennessee. That's down towards the Cleveland and Chattanooga area. They're having an open house. Just get on their website to get the directions and everything and email them and let them know that you'd like to come. I'll be out there by about 1 o'clock, and in the evening, I'm going to do a foraging walk on the property. I was out there last Saturday, and did a little bit of scouting around to see what was available, which is a lot of things right now, of course, being the first day of summer here. And we've got about 90 minutes we're going to take, walk around. I'm going to show a bunch of medicinal and edible foods, and just put together a little show and tell. Tim Riley's dropped in. Good to see you, Tim. If you have a minute, let me know if I'm coming through okay. StreamYard should be filtering out this little fan I've got running, but if you hear a whole bunch of buzz in the background, I'll have to turn it off. So here in a little bit, I'll talk about my visit to Haven Earth, because it was wonderful. I really enjoyed my time down there, and met sort of a farmer neighbor. So we'll get into that in just a second. Secondly, I am doing a foraging class at oh my goodness, it's in your notes. It's in the notes, but it's in Rogersville, Tennessee. Rogersville, Tennessee, on Old Mill Road. If you guys need the flyer for that, just let me know and I'll email it over to you. But I've been invited out there to lead a foraging class. I believe it's $30 per person. We're going to be out for about 2.5 hours. So it's looking like a fun time. I've got a few friends out that way, but I don't spend a ton of time out there. So it'd be kind of nice to see that part of the state again. That's kind of northeast of Knoxville and Rogersville, and that portion of, I believe it's Hawkins County. There's really no major highways, and there's no interstate that runs through there. So this is one of those areas of the state that fortunately is not getting overdeveloped, which is always happy to see. All right, Tim says I'm coming in all right, so I'm going to leave the fan on so I don't stroke out on you guys in the middle of the show out here in the metal shop. So let's go ahead and talk about Saturday. Saturday was excellent. They invited me out to to attend this homestead boot camp that they were having. So this was a multi-day event. I was only out there for the Saturday, but they had Nicole Sauce there to talk on food preservation. Sean Mills was there to talk off-grid systems, particularly solar and a little bit of water. They had a gentleman out there, Farmer Blake, from Tennessee Mountain Farm, which is very close to them, and he spoke on switching a conventional chicken farm to regenerative practices. And I got to talk with him a little bit while I was there. This is also a family farm, not unlike us. It's been in their family about the same length of time, and it sounded like we've got a lot in common. So I got with him, and I'm going to be visiting his place tomorrow morning on my way down to Haven Earth. So I want to take a closer look at what his practices are like and see what I can pick up, see if there's anything I can contribute. Um, Blake spoke mainly on keeping pigs with no smell. So here's what he showed us, because Haven Earth is basically duplicating his process. So he's talking about keeping 1 or 2 pigs that you raise out for harvest. So you get a piglet in the spring and you harvest your full-grown pig in the fall. And of course, the joke always is, pig sty, that it smells terrible, that it's disgusting, that it's unsanitary, and all these things. And he wanted to prove that pigs could be kept under shelter, not out in the open, not grazing, in a way that was clean and safe and appropriate and good for the pigs and good for their well-being and their happiness. So he pulled this from Korean natural farming methods and built a stall. I forget the exact dimensions, but there's dimensions per pig. I want to say it's at least like 12 by 20. It's pretty roomy per pig. And he built up the bottom layer. He encased it completely in hog panels, 4x4s hog panels. Of course, made it really strong because pigs are strong. They like to rub on things. Did a bottom layer about 6 inches of charcoal that he made there in a pit that he built. Put the next layer in of logs. I believe he said 6 to 8, 10-inch logs, just layered in the logs, and then filled in on top with several more inches of wood chips. And that creates an environment for aerobic bacteria to break down all the pig waste. The pigs root through it, they tunnel under it, they lay in it, they dig in it. And another important aspect was that he used buttoned waterers. So these are little buttons with a little spout, and when the pig presses his nose on it, water trickles out, and they drink directly from it. So there's no bowls, no basins of water. You do get a little bit of a wet spot where their water is, but the idea here is that this bedding does not get extra wet, because wet and compacted can equal, that's where a lot of your smell, your anaerobic bacteria comes from. So with the depth, with the inoculant that he uses, there's an inoculant that's applied that is taught through the Korean natural farming method. It's basically building compost in place. It's very similar to the system that Joel Salatin uses. I don't know if they do the charcoal or not, and Blake was actually going to experiment and do another one without the charcoal, because that was one of the most time-consuming, labor-intensive things for him, was creating the charcoal. He's going to see if it works with just logs and wood chips. So that was really interesting to see. So that's how they're keeping their pigs out there. So they're undercover. They are, pigs can be hard to be contained. So they are contained within, a very strong system. Some people train their pigs to a very hot wire. You can do that as well. But I'm sure folks know that if a pig gets out, there can be a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. And they can be very difficult to catch. So I really like this. And the funny story that Blake told, he was doing this out in one of his barns, but he really wanted to show people how well this could work, especially in terms of the smell. He was very set on dispelling that particular myth about odor and filth, because pigs actually aren't filthy animals. If they're kept the wrong way, they certainly can be. Any animal can be. These particular pigs, he's got a cross between a Duroc and a it starts with an M, and I'm going to draw a brain fart right now. Mangalitsa. He crossed a Duroc with a Mangalitsa for a pig that makes both really good meat and really good fat. And these pigs actually poop in one spot. They poop in one corner of their spot. They don't just poop all over the place. So they have their own bathroom. So they are clean animals. He's just going to experiment with this a little bit more. But his idea was that he talked his mom into turning her carport right next to her house into this, organic pig pen with all the layers of all those carving materials, so that when they have people up for tours and whatnot, they could go right there right away, right now, and prove to his mom as well they can be kept this way and they don't stink. So I'm not saying I'm going to do pigs out here. That's one of those things, like we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But the fact that I can be shown how to build a system like this gives me a lot of hope that maybe we could raise out a couple, just for the whole family. Because my thing here is because of I mean, I certainly wouldn't want a pig damaging anybody's property, but we have neighbors so close. We have, kind of a HOA style neighborhood to the west. We have apartments down to the south of us. Um, a loose pig could make a lot of people not like me. Um, out in the country, a loose pig might just get shot by wherever he wound up on the land. Here, I'm just going to get angry phone calls. So the idea of keeping them in a rigid, 100% secure environment is appealing to me. So I'm going to look into that more. And I'm looking forward to seeing Blake's place tomorrow. He was a cool dude. I liked him right off the bat. Cool storyteller. So, and I think Nicole said she was going to try to get him on, like on a Tuesday live with herself and John Willis. He would be an excellent conversation there. I'm going to take just a quick sip here and acknowledge everybody who's hanging out. Cormac is chilling with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming in. And Pippinized is here. It is a good Friday, you guys. So thank you for spending a little bit of time. Other events at Haven Earth that other classes that we had, they had an old boy in who was teaching about natural beekeeping. He had gone to buy some honey, and it was $25 for, I think it was for like a quart. He didn't want to pay that. He wanted to figure out how to keep his own bees. He was also wondering what made beekeeping so expensive. So he kind of went back on kind of old-timey knowledge and learned how to capture his own swarms, built a top bar style hive, the kind where the frames slide in side by side horizontally. They're not stacked up. He figured out how they make their queens. He just kind of spoke in this, real casual, just kind of a regular country boy type dude. His name's Robert, real cool guy. He spoke on how he was keeping bees for, with between redneck engineering, capturing swarms, really wasn't putting a whole lot of money into it. And he had built he calls it a long box style hive for the folks at Haven Earth. And actually went out there, pulled some frames, showed people what that looked like, showed how they build the comb. And he actually found the queen while he was in there, and he uses a Sharpie to mark a little spot on her back so he can tell her apart. Well, she had worn it off somehow. And we watched this man capture this queen bee, kind of hold it against his chest for a second while he fished the marker out of his pocket, and then was able to hold her and put that mark on her and put her back into the box. It was way cool. If a bee queen is injured, the other bees will kill her and make another queen. So you really have to be careful. You lose a lot of time when that happens. It can kind of upset the whole apple cart, as it were. So it was just neat. There's just bees flying around him. He doesn't wear protective gear or anything. He's just chill as can be, just the most chill dude. Definitely a bee whisperer. Pippinized, 100%. Robert is a bee whisperer. So he was cool. I enjoyed hearing from him. We enjoyed the air conditioning of the kitchen while Nicole did her presentation on food preservation. She always knocks it out of the park there. I always pick up a little bit of fresh information each time that I sit through one of her classes. And then finally, to round out the day before dinner, we walked around with Sean Mills, and he showed us how he's assembled and designed these solar power systems for some of the tiny homes out there. And picked up a couple more nuggets that I don't think I had really had locked into my brain about how all this works, particularly about how the battery chemistry works. So, well worth my time to be down there. Worth the drive in a Jeep with no air conditioning. So it was a good day. And the food was wonderful. Amani cooked some fantastic food, and I ate really, really well while I was down there. So pretty much been back on the farm all week. I've been off. Well, I've been back and forth because I've had some off-site work, but not too far away, and mostly just been trying to deal with the heat, keep the animals in good order. Uh, the the sheep are doing fine. They are mostly chilling out. They will get up and they will graze a little bit early in the day, and then they'll go find the shade for most of the daytime, and then they'll get up and they'll graze a little bit more before sundown or before dark, really. And I'm topping off their water a couple times a day. They're just kind of like low and slow right now. They're not super motivated, and I don't blame them. They all look good though. Nobody looks stressed or anything. They just, when they're resting, they're just sitting there, chewing their cud. And they know there's just no need to go balls to the wall right now. Primrose donkey, she's, poor thing, the flies are bad right now. And, they bite and they can create sores. So I went and picked up a couple of different kinds of salve, and including one that has like a fly repellent. And lately, she has not wanted to stand still for me. It started when I tried to treat a couple of spots a couple of weeks ago. I had a little bit of a spray to try to keep the flies off, and she does not like that sound. It freaks her out. It probably sounds like a snake or something. Fortunately, she loves my brother. She loves Tyler, and, probably because he brings her more carrots than I do. So I got some carrots this morning, handed them off to Tyler, and he fed her carrots and just kind of hugged her neck and petted the side of her head and kind of pulled her head to where that one eye on that side I was working on couldn't really see what I was doing. And I just very carefully and gently applied that salve. And the spots they're already starting to fill in from the edges, but we still want to try to keep the flies off as best as possible. So we did a little bit of donkey maintenance first thing this morning, and it held up for a while. I think she licked it off, so we'll have to do it again, of course. But I told Tyler, I said, please don't ever do anything that's going to piss off that donkey towards you, because she didn't want to have anything to do with me. I mean, she took a carrot, but I had to stretch my arm all the way out, and then she walked away from me again. So I've got to make amends for making an uncool noise around the donkey. I'm keeping the rabbits in the shade as much as possible, the ones that are in the tractors. They're in a spot where they get some early sun, and then by about noon, they're in shade for the entire rest of the day. And I've got enough clover and whatnot out there that I'm just kind of scooting the tractors around a couple of times a day. The ones that are up in the hutches are doing fine. They're chilling as well. They're not eating quite as much, but they're just hanging out. And I'm going to wait till we harvest this first batch before we breed anybody. I'm okay with just feeding them right now. And because frankly, it's a bit much to deal with a whole bunch of babies coming out all over the place. We will address that after about mid-July. Chickens are also doing fine, but I've got one who's misbehaving. Somebody is an egg eater. A few times now I have found just shell, no egg inside it. I get 2 or 3 eggs most days. I have 6 chickens. Math is not working right now. I have put golf balls in there. I check 2 or 3 times a day for eggs. It would help if most of them did the egg call, but most of them don't, which is kind of weird. These are the quietest chickens I've ever had. So we're trying to deal with that, because egg eating, not cool. It's like stealing from work, not cool. So yeah, we gotta see what's up with that. I'm wondering if I can get a game camera in there and try to figure out who it is. I just really don't have any way of knowing, and I don't have time to, monitor directly, but maybe my game cam will kind of give me a clue. It does have a video setting. I may see if I can. Yeah, it's old school as I'll get out, so I'll have to kind of probably pull my manual out and figure out how to program it, but that might be the way to go, see if I can see somebody coming in there pecking at an egg. I have a feeling that an egg just got broken, and a chicken checked it out, and then that started that whole mess. I've had it happen before back at the old place, but throwing the golf balls in there reset them. So if anybody knows about how to reset a chicken, or I can manage it in other ways, if I can figure out exactly who it is, please let me know. Foraging season is in full swing right now. Blackberries are coming in great. We've got black raspberries here, and then we also have wine berries, which are kind of like a raspberry, but I think better, sweeter. They're a lot softer. You have to have a very gentle hand when you're picking them, but man, they're good. We've got them wild on the farm, and I've got some of my food forests transplanted. The goji berries are coming in. I've got pears coming in. My peaches fell off early thanks to a storm, so that was kind of aggravating. But everything else is still looking good, and a good portion of that food forest actually gets passively watered via gray water from the washing machine discharge. It discharges into a filter pit, and then it flows to a swale. So most things in there get, it's getting pretty decent water, a couple times a week. So I'm not really watering anything down there right now, except for I've got a Nanking cherry that it was a cutting that rooted that I recently transplanted. So that one's getting some water. Otherwise, in the food forest, 2 nights ago, I went through the rest of my bagged leaves from last fall and just took them all down there, just ripped open the bags and just spread them wherever I didn't have any extra carbon on the ground. Just spread them ultra thick, and finally got the rest of those. And then that same day, Tyler got onto the skid steer and blended up my big leaf pile that the bulk drop was coming from, and my semi-composted wood chip pile. The bottom of those leaves were great. So it was essentially, it looked like a seed starting mix. So he's blended all that up, got more oxygen and everything, and I've got really good material to continue to build the soil down there in the food forest and wherever else I need to. It's in the plans when we cool down again to take what I call my upper garden, where it's mostly herbs and pollinator plants and small shrubs and other odds and ends. It's just, we'll call it a pollinator garden. That's mostly the function that it serves in terms of, I don't tinker with it too much. I'm going to continue to extend that down the hill about another 20 feet until it meets the flower bed that's at the front of the cabin. We'll put a couple of paths through there, and I will no longer have an island of grass between those two things. So I'll be taking those materials that got mixed up as I collect more cardboard and just keep building that together. So it's been a really good time to build, to kind of keep building these composts. I've got, I made another batch of worm casting compost tea from the worm system, ran that through the aerator for about 48 hours and got that into the food forest today. And I'm going to make another batch Sunday that's going to go to a customer on Monday for some newly established garden beds that are probably going to need some help, some inoculation. So that little aerator I picked up it works great. I love it. It works. I fill up a 5-gallon bucket with worm castings steeped in rainwater, or I filter through the castings first, so I don't have a bunch of sludge in the bottom. Drop that in there, just plug it in, run it for about 2 days, and then I use it within about 6 hours of unplugging it, and it's just amazing what it does for the soil. Slowly but surely, we're getting better soils. I can tell by the way certain things look versus other areas. So areas that I've cared for versus other areas I haven't really gotten to yet. Just a tremendous difference. Oh, let's see. I got one more thing on my notes. Make sure I'm not overlooking anything here. If I'm going fast, it's because I'm hot and I want to go cool off here in a little bit. I've been in and out of the pool as much as possible. I get in it, cool off, get my body temperature down, pull my shorts back on, go back to work, back and forth, back and forth. Really, really helps having that pool. Really, really helps. Uh, so the cool thing that I ordered that came in the mail a couple of days ago. You guys know what dowsing is? Well, apparently there's more to it than just finding water. You can dowse for all sorts of things. In fact, it's also a divination tool. Now, before anybody has a cow, no, I'm not summoning demons or anything like that. But I do believe that there are helpful entities in nature who we can chat with and get to know and work with. And if you don't believe that, that's cool. It's all good. But you can get some really nice dowsing rods. So these are copper dowsing rods. And for now, let's just talk about water. Don't worry about the woo-woo stuff. These are on Amazon. So they've got this little cylinder that the rod sits inside, so it floats. So your grip does not affect how it moves. Now, I played with a set of these a little bit at a customer's a few months ago. We were trying to double check where her water line was before we figured out where we were going to plant some things. And she basically had this exact set. And she told me, where she got them and which model to look for and everything. And sure enough, I'd never really messed with dowsing rods before. Now, I come from, old-timer people who would use willow as dowsing rods, try to find water and that kind of thing, try to locate a well. But apparently copper works just as well. Apparently a lot of things will work. So I used her rods. She used them. She showed me how they worked, and then I used them, and it works. In my case, when I walk around with the rods, kind of just at my shoulders, just kind of, a hand span apart, as I walk around, you're kind of holding them level. When I encounter water, and I tested this exactly where I know my water line is, they cross. Some people, they will push away from each other, but in my case, they cross. And I tested it over and over and over again, and I was getting consistent readings. Like I was basically zigzagging across where I know the water line is because I can still see the impression where I dug the trench. And as I would come across it again, they would pull themselves together and cross. And as I passed away from it, they reset themselves, and we did that for a while. I was walking towards a swale, kind of coming in at like a 45-degree angle to one of the oldest swales on the property that have been here from well before I was here, and they crossed. And that was happening with quite a few of the swales that are on this property. And that is pretty cool because the fact that this property was swaled probably 100 years ago or so, part of it used to be orchard. Although we're about 900 feet above sea level here, we have a lot of water in the soil. We do not have a well up here. I don't think anybody ever has. Originally, the water was pumped up when my grandmother built her house. The water was pumped up from a spring, and then I don't know, 70s, 80s, they tied into the water line that came through when the county put in the water line. But as I go across these swales, those were consistently crossing one another. So it does make me wonder if maybe it's not too far down that we have some groundwater. We've got several big sycamore trees up here, including my favorite one that sits between the cabin and the shop. Everywhere else I see sycamores. They're pretty close to water. So it just makes you think what happens over a landscape over many decades if you start storing water into the soil as soon as you possibly can. It's a little bit of, sometimes a lot of labor depending on what kind of tools you have available to you to get them in, but it just makes a tremendous difference in appropriate settings in the appropriate landscape. Up here we're a lot of clay. We have a lot of heavy clay. We don't have a lot of natural topsoil. We have to work hard to build topsoil. And then we're mostly limestone. There's chert, and then just limestone. It can be pretty cavey around here. There's a lot of sinkholes, not really on our property, but there used to be a whole bunch where they built the food city across the street. I'm not sure how much fill they had to bring back in to fill those sinkholes, but we used to go back there and explore. It was behind an old horse farm, and I mean they were huge. They were big enough to swallow many vehicles. So I've always kind of wondered about that when they developed that, how much they had to fill and how long that's going to hang out before there is a divot starting to form in that parking lot. So yeah, get water in your soil. I guess that's the thing. We always think about, storing water in tanks, storing water for drinking and bathing and sanitation and that kind of thing. Storing water in totes and rain barrels and all this stuff. But really one of the best places for it is to get it back into your landscape. Don't shunt it all down the hill into a ditch. Slow that stuff down and throw it into your soil. And then maybe pick you up some dowsing rods and wander around and see what you can find. So yeah, back to the dowsing rods. I don't really know how they work. I've read different things. I think it's one of those things that most of us have the ability to do. I think it's just kind of a thing that humans have in their toolbox, and there's different ways of detecting that sort of thing. I mean, if you think about it, water is just another form of energy. So technically you could probably look for other energies as well. It would be interesting to know if you could use them to detect like EMF or, I don't know, different kinds of, like the Schumann resonance, different kinds of frequencies and things. I'm just kind of spitballing here. But I was going to pass along that recently I've run across the work of a man named Raymond. Oh, my goodness. Total brain fart. Stand by. Raymond. Oh, my goodness. Apparently it's not on this paper. Okay. We're going to cheat. Grace. Raymond Grace. Holy cats. Okay. There's a gentleman by the name of Raymond Grace. He's I'm not sure how old he is at this point, but he sounds like he's an older guy, Kentucky or Virginia rancher. And he is known as a dowser and as a he has the ability to alter the frequency of things. If you just plug in Raymond Grace, and it's Raymon, he's been on a bunch of podcasts. He was on the Alpha Vedic podcast back in December. He's been on a bunch of. He's got a YouTube channel. It's Raymond Grace Foundation is his website. There's a lot of free materials out there. I just got his book in the mail this afternoon. But I was suddenly just fascinated by the concept that humans are so tied to the energetic field of the earth that we can potentially alter a negative frequency into a positive one. So he tells stories about cleansing. Mostly he's about cleansing water and addressing illness. He was able to cleanse arsenic out of water. He was able to subvert Roundup into something inert in the case of a field that had been sprayed accidentally. So really interesting stuff. If you guys like going down those kind of rabbit holes, I haven't really talked a whole lot about it on any of the live streams yet, but I am very interested in etheric technologies and technologies that work with the energetic realm. I'm barely just scratching the surface on a lot of this stuff, but I kind of feel like it goes hand in hand with permaculture and trying to live as close to the land, be in touch with the land as possible. So that's the kind of thing that, rocks your all's world, and you're into it, look into it, and if it doesn't set right with you, that's okay too. Maybe this stuff isn't for everybody. I know some people have belief systems there where that's just not going to jive, and that's cool, but it is interesting to me. So I think that's what I got for you guys tonight. I'm ready to cool off a little bit more in the pool and have some dinner and pull up my new book. So thank you so much, guys, for hanging out. Pip and Eyes and Tim Cormick. Hope you guys have an excellent weekend. And if y'all need anything, give me a holler. We'll talk to you soon.